Where does some of the inspiration for the images come from?
So a lot of it comes from online or like antique stores. I love going, that's like my favorite thing to do. Go to antique stores. I get a lot of stuff from eBay, like imagery from eBay. It's very searchable.
Yeah.
I like the I like the way that people take a photo of something when it's for sale. They put a little backdrop and to kind of pose it.
I never thought about that. Like just all of our amateur efforts to like beautify.
Yeah. So I get a lot of photos from eBay or reference books. That handcuff set over there comes from like a reference book.
Okay.
Other times I just come across an image and it has to sit and cook for a while, let it ferment, and then it's ready. So like when I get home, I've had these images of fountains and I think they're ready. So I'm gonna do paintings of fountains, like in ponds.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm like, I get it now. I know.
Is that a feeling? Is it a kind of like a spiritual sense or like just timing? Like, all right, I got the time.
It's kind of weird because when the plane was landing, as we came in, when you're really far away and you're looking down, I was looking down at these lakes and they had fountains, but you're so far away that it looks like they're just standing still. So it kind of looks like there's a sculpture in the lake.
Oh, yeah.
And I never really thought about them that way before because I've been like trying to think like, how am I gonna paint water?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now I get it. Like, and now I'm really excited to paint those. Yeah.
That's fun to think of, like having images prepped and then knowing you could start, but then like something happens where
they kind of have to like distill or.
So then like some of this hardware feels very unique. It's like, oh cool, like sourcing the internet, really interesting, archival, I want to say equipment. So then then the merge of like kind of bringing in your own ingredients, are these faces from like other imagery as well, and how you combine them together?
I used to make like analog collages. Well, my intent was to do that. I spent a lot of time like cutting stuff out of magazines, like in middle school and high school. And so I just have like a big stack of stuff. I never ended up making the collages, but now I make them digitally. So it's a little easier to get the repeating aspect of that. But yeah, these handcuffs are from a reference book from the 70s about like antiques that you should invest in. And
interesting.
Yeah, it has them all like all these sets of items laid out in a grid. It was just so attractive to me. Like, as I was saying, the way people photograph things.
Yeah. Like investing to have around the house, or like investing in the businesses that make these?
Like, if you're gonna collect antiques, they're like, here's what you should buy.
Yeah.
So it's like really, it's kind of obsolete because it's like, I mean, obviously, because it's like speculating, like, oh, glass bells.
Yeah.
You need to jump on it. Handcuffs.
Would you say you're like known in the Michigan antique scene?
No. I'm incognito over there for sure.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So you can still kind of roam from antique shop to antique shop. And
oh yeah, totally.
Not be known.
I never buy any.
Oh, okay.
I'm just.
I wondered.
Like, I might be hated.
Yeah.
In the antique community because I'm just a looky-loo.
Do you ever feel like the emotion or nostalgia to be like, oh, I wish I would have just purchased things that you put in paintings just to have as like collected items, or no, not at all, just literally with your eyes?
Just to look at.
Yeah.
I actually, it's a problem because I have a bunch of shelves in my house.
Okay.
and they're all empty. It's really weird looking. It's like, I'm like, I need to like buy, like, it's okay to just buy them, put them.
Yeah, just put some things on the shelves.
Yeah, because the house is looking weird.
And so I don't know if this is right, but I mean, I guess that's the way art is. Just in my own eyes, these images become, I think, where they're coming from, but they become kind of spooky and really cool and moody.
Yeah.
Is that an intent as you're assembling the various inspirations?
Yeah, I think so. When I'm composing them, I kind of try different things until it strikes. I think one of the funnest parts about painting for me is that moment, like when it strikes and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's like so it almost feels like maybe like, is it an aesthetic moment?
I think so.
Like, this is dope. This looks cool. This gives me a feeling.
Yeah, and I'm kind of trying to hit like a paranoid or basic human low level instincts. I think. Yeah, like fear. You know, sensing danger.
Kind of primal.
Primal.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just kind of work on that till I feel it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those at home, we definitely are getting that feeling as we scan. It's cool. It's like, I think that's what makes me curious about your work and pulls me in. It's beautiful, but it's spooky, and you kind of want to get into it and see what it's about. You know, it elicits a curiosity in it.
For these, I was kind of thinking about like a paradise corrupting. Like the moment the vibe is kind of wavering to something's wrong, you know. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking about.
I feel like animals show up too, like dogs definitely show up.
Yeah.
The dogs always to me look a little I was gonna say like non-human, but like non-doggy.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much are you manipulating like the dogs that you want to create?
Big time. I always give them bigger eyes. I always try to give them really shiny, big eyes with kind of big whites.
Where does the inspiration, do you know where it came from to start painting dogs? Like they don't look like real dogs to me. You know, I think they're a dog, but.
Yeah. I feel like dogs they can either be a guardian or a aggressive force. So they can kind of like flip-flop between those two, I think. So like when I was thinking about the, you know, paradise turning, like corrupting or starting to verge towards evil, I feel like the dog is like really good for that. And dogs, like humans and dogs have such a long history. We have like a special understanding, I think. Just like with horses, like I feel like if you like watch a horse or watch a dog, you kind of can get a sense of like, oh, something's about to happen.
It takes me back to when you said primal over there. Just they're a little bit more on the primal than we are.
Yes, exactly.
And in somewhat of an envious way.
Yeah.
As we get kind of desensitized from those instincts, maybe.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, wow, they succeed at doing what you're describing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I always give them longer claws.
Yeah.
And I try to give them little, they're almost fingers.
Yeah.
I like to elongate the potential for hand-like.
When you're making these dogs, are you like, do you relate to them? It gets kind of alien and scary. Do you like the experience of making something kind of alien and scary, or do you feel an affinity for these dogs?
That's kind of interesting.
I don't know if that's the weirdest question.
No, okay, I feel an affinity for that one.
Okay.
But not that one.
Interesting.
I kind of babied that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that one feels a little bit warmer and fuzzier as you say that.
Yeah.
Than looking at the others.
That one's a little more, whether I intended it or not, is a little more messed up.
Yeah. It's cool. I mean, I think it's cool too. Anytime someone has somewhat of a distinct signature, it's like, I've not seen creatures like this. And when I see them, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a Rae painting. That's been a thought of mine ever since seeing your imagery.
Good. I like that. That's good to hear.
When we see the faces, I'm assuming from what you said, like internet search, imagery, there's not antique stores to these faces, I'm assuming.
I usually just stumble upon them.
Okay.
Yeah. Her over there, in the photo, she had eyebrows and eyelashes. So, but for some reason, like, it seemed like it'd be better if she didn't. People are like, there's something off. But that's what it is. I try to just find ones that have what I need and use it for structure.
Okay. And then I guess just the general concept too of taking the antique, I'm assuming these planes are some sort of like maybe antique memorabilia or something?
I think that they were not these.
Okay. Maybe I'm latching too hard to the antiques, but just in general, this could be eBay.
Yeah.
Material.
Yep, for sure. I had to find something with angle like that.
And in terms of your like color palette, it's kind of murky and mysterious. And have you always gravitated toward those kinds of colors?
Yeah, I think so. My like super early work was really bright, but yeah, now I like it a little more muted and brown. Yeah.
So it feels like it's a harder choice or maybe a more sophisticated choice that chooses colors like this.
I think I just like them. I collect every earth tone. I can.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, new earth tone just dropped. Yeah.
And the earth tone drops, yeah. When I see some of this one over here, like a dinner set floating in the sky.
Yeah.
Is that surrealism? Is that like kind of like based off of that, or what would be associated with these kinds of images that you make, or what would people say?
That's a really good question. A lot of people say surrealism for sure.
Okay.
I am not so well versed in art history either.
Love that. We love that.
I didn't happen to get my master's, so I'm just working off BFA. And
okay. That sounds important to me.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
When I'm making these like sort of compositions, you can really form the clouds. Since they're kind of abstract, you can kind of form them around and really drive the focal point without disturbing it too much. Yeah, so I kind of try to drive a little vertical action here, and then I'm like, all right, we'll curve back in now.
Yeah.
You know?
Just the variety of images in this show, they all are giving me that same feeling of just cool, murky, mysterious, and whether it's faces or animals or antiques, it's illuminating to me that like it all has that feel, it all has your spirit in it.
Awesome. This is from eBay.
Okay.
So it's a photo for sale on eBay. I like to look at the photos that are for sale. Then it's kind of interesting because it's a photo that somebody may have casually took, and then it's being photographed again carefully so that the eBay seller can sell it.
Yeah.
And it's like cataloged very specifically into a genre and size. So it's kind of crazy how eBay is this massive archive of stuff and photos of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
So we've got paintings of photos of eBay.
Yes. Yep.
Sick. Do you get pretty versed in the prompts that, I'm thinking of AI, but like the prompts that you give an eBay search of?
Oh yeah.
is that like, I mean, it's almost part of the creative process. I would think of like what words to come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have objects in mind that you want to search for?
Yeah, a lot of the times, or otherwise I'll just scroll through them.
There's so much, this is great. There's a lot of great work in this show. These chandeliers make me think of your future fountain paintings.
Yeah, you know what, actually, it is kind of similar. It's gonna be tricky to figure out how to paint the chandeliers. I was sitting on those for a little while too.
The chandelier does not seem like an easy thing to paint to me if I were to think about it.
No, because they're very repetitive and most of them are clear.
How do you decide the fidelity and definition of what you are painting?
That's a really good question. Some of it is just technical limitations, and then some of it I can control. So the chandelier has to be fairly crisp. Mm-hmm. Figured out how to kind of control that a little bit by manipulating the linen. Like these are more of an open grain. We're getting in the weeds here. like kind of a open grain linen, whereas like that one is like I primed it.
Okay. Priming being the coating of material on top of the fabric.
Yep. And the more open it is, the more like convincingly soft you can make something. Whereas with these, you can get super crispy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I always think it's interesting, the more I learn about painting as well, is that where like you can come into here and it's just like this blob of stuff that doesn't have anything, but then you take a couple steps back.
Yep.
And it's like the fidelity is there.
Yeah.
And
crispy.
Yeah. The crispier it gets, the further back you are.
Yeah. And then like that, I don't know, it's just as you're going, I'm like, well, I guess I thought that needs to be softer than that one.
And also too, to me, that just the puzzle of if you're creating the image, like you can't really feel the crispiness of it when you have to work this close.
Yeah.
And then you're trusting that like, oh, when you step back, it'll be super clean, and it does.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
I have a rolly chair, and I just kick it.
Nice.
I do one of these.
Is that about the distance, about that far?
Yeah, about that far.
Sweet.
Yep.
These are so sick, Rae. It's so fun to walk through with you, and
they look so different in the gallery. That's also a cool part, is seeing them outside of the studio.
In my mind, I see this like rustic Midwest, kind of like farmland. Maybe that's me. Is that space inspire you that way, or?
So my studio out there, we don't really have studios.
Yeah.
So I'm in a kind of retail office space, actually. I've got
way off.
Yeah.
like you're in the middle of the country and it's
I'm in it used to be like a township building, and now there's a dog groomer in me.
Sweet.
And it's kind of a little bit awkward because the township's like, well, you're in a retail space, you need to be open. It needs to be open to the public. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So technically.
Cool. Got that. Are these dog paintings inspired by the dog groomer next to you at all?
No. In fact.
Maybe the opposite. Maybe the.
I see a lot of cool dogs. Side effect.
Yeah.
And it's on Barker Road. And people peek in the windows and they're like, oh, this is so appropriate. The dog groomer, Barker Road, dog paintings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, can you get out of here?
Yeah. That's an interesting thing. Like, studios pop up wherever, and wherever artists, it makes sense to get a good deal and get a good space where you can be creative.
Yeah, totally.
Do you plan to stick there, do you think, or?
Oh, I like to move studios.
Okay.
A lot.
Wow.
So now I'm looking at a building that used to be like a convenience store or candy shop.
Cool.
Is how the guy's describing it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more open. It's just a shell. So
And do the different space, like, do you move often to like get inspiration and like, oh, I'm gonna paint for a year here or there to just see what happens?
I think it does help. Yeah,
Cool.
I think it helps. I think what I'm really looking for is like a really cool window. But yeah, the space definitely helps.
Yeah.
They all have different vibes. They've all been so different.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unique. I don't think I've heard that of, like, typically it's
Yeah.
people have this is their home space and they're just
Yeah.
very loyal to it, but
I've been in my garage. I had like a cubicle in what was an old car dealership, and it would like flood a little bit, and it'd be so wet, and it was just, I don't know, but
Wow.
I still loved it.
yeah, right,
You know?
yeah.
My own little space.
Kind of like these non-traditional spaces.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's unique. That's cool.